that untold truth is people like to people like to people like to get into the secrets, of things, right? So I believe our speaker Favour Olusoji is going to do justice to that. Hi Favour, good evening. How are you doing today?
Hi, listen, good evening. I'm excited to be here. And
Right.
I'm doing great, thank you.
Nice, nice. We are glad that you're here for us, and we appreciate you so much. So yeah, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone, good evening. Like she said, my name is Favour Olusoji. I'm currently product manager at SeamlessHR, and I have a couple other projects I'm also working on. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here, and I think this topic is quite interesting, so quite excited to talk about it. So I'm hoping you guys learn from it, as I think I'm also going to learn from the session. I think I want to put a disclaimer out there first that I'm not here to scare anybody about product management. Product management is pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie, but I'm not here to scare you either. Like, I mean, there are pretty tough things about it, but I'm not here to scare anyone or make you feel like product management is not for you. It's more about getting getting you to know getting you to get into product management with your eyes wide open and you having like all the information you need to be able to get started. So initially when I was supposed to speak about this topic, I was thinking about what was the best approach to go about it, and I decided that so that I don't come here and give a one woman opinion and tell people about or rant about my challenges as a product manager. I decided to, throw that question open and speak to my colleagues and other product managers I've worked with over time to just tell me either like a misconception about product management that people seem to have, or talk about their own personal challenges as a product manager. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to read through messages that I got and then elaborate on them and elaborate on what the person is trying to pass across. So I would start with wait, let me just stop here and say that feel free to interrupt me to ask questions. I do not mind. And I hope you guys can hear me. I just need to know
Yeah,
that.
we can hear you.
Yes, we
All
can
right.
hear you. Mhm.
All right. Like I said, I reached out to a lot of my colleagues and asked them what challenge. You know what? Let me read out the exact question I asked. Give me a second. So my question was, hello, how are you doing today? Happy to be able to ask. Happy speaking engagements about the untold truth about product management. Do you mind sharing with me one thing you think is a misconception of people? Sorry, you think is a misconception or that people don't know about product management, or one of your challenges as a product manager that people don't seem to understand, right? And this person replied me and said, for misconception, most people think that product management is an easy task and it's just for you to collaborate and talk. So yeah, there's like a very, very big misconception about product management. Like, oh, it's one of the easiest things you can get into as a techie, or like you want to be a techie, just doing product management. You don't need to code and all of that. And, all you need to do is collaborate, talk, and boss everyone around, and that's it. And the truth is, it doesn't actually work like that. So let me paint a scenario. So this person said it is way more than that because it is science and an art. And one challenge has to do with managing dependencies around the product life cycle. So um, let me talk about managing dependencies around the product life cycle, right? So there's this thing with product managers. So what we basically do, at least from let me give it like a let me paint a give an analogy, right? So I asked someone said, oh, product management is being the architect of a product. And I still think that doesn't really capture what we do. So I would say, as a product manager, one of the things we do like daily is you're trying to figure out how to get features that pertain to your product release. But the thing is, you're not doing any of those things yourself. You're not the one coding or like developing the product. You're not the one designing the product. You're not the one and I put it, you're not the one like pretty much the only thing you do that has to do with product is mentally design the product and put that in writing and then share those ideas with your product designer and the person brings it to life. And then with the designer, you share that vision with your developers and they bring it to life. I mean, that's in a digital product management role, right? And the annoying part of it is the fact that you don't get to build those things yourself, yet you have to take responsibility for it. For example, a developer maybe falls sick and is not able to deliver things on time. Your work is dependent on that person, and there's nothing you can do. Like you can't go and tell the person that, oh, you're sick. I don't care. Start working right now. But either ways, all the management wants to know or all stakeholders want to know is you did not deliver at this particular time. And in reality, it's basically out of your hands. And you cannot there's nothing you can do really except you go and code yourself, which is exactly, and that's not what you were hired to do, or you probably don't even know how to do that. So yeah, I would say one of the challenges surrounding product management is that you have a lot of dependencies on external people. Your work is to figure out how to make sure that even though I'm dependent on other people, how do I make sure that I get these things I need on time or get whatever you need to do and not have problems with it. So your works is dependent on a lot of people, and if those people don't function the way they're supposed to, then you are in a very hard position or you're in a precarious situation because you could basically lose your job because other people did not do their job. So yeah, you can see that's one thing a lot of people won't tell you about product management. Like your job is dependent on other people doing their jobs right and not just you doing your job right. Like other people have to do their jobs right for you to be able to be successful at your job. Okay, I don't know if anybody has a question around that, but if no one has a question, I would move on to the next thing someone said. So someone said another person said people think you are the CEO of the product. Please, dears, you're not. And this is very tricky. Like you keep when you learn about product management, right? You keep hearing you're the CEO of the product. In actual fact, I mean, that's the ideal situation, right? I mean, the ideal agile world. You are supposed to be in control of your product. That's the ideal situation. But maybe it's just me, or maybe the people that I've interacted with. I don't think I've seen anyone that's ever been in an ideal situation. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it looks like you're very far from your microphone. Like it's
Oh,
very,
okay.
yeah, it's better now.
All right. Can you guys hear me perfectly now?
Yeah, yeah, in a way,
Let me
yeah.
let me try something else.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
You can hear me well now.
yes,
Just
we can hear you well now. It's clear.
all right. I was using my buds before, but I just decided to go with my regular microphone.
All right, it's fine. Like it's fine this way. Thank you.
All right. So I was saying that one thing you always learn about, like maybe where you're getting product management. Okay, let me just ask a question. I want to like just raise your hand if you've heard stuff like a product manager is like the CEO of the product. Like if you've heard that first before, just like you can put your hands up if like heard it before. Okay, I like that. So yeah, like I said, in a very ideal situation, you are supposed to be the CEO of a product, but in reality, like in the like at least in the corporate world when you're working like with tech companies and all that, in reality, you're not the CEO of your product. Your life is dependent on stakeholders and people in management, and it's not. I mean, I understand it from from like people are trying to build successful businesses. They have a lot at stake. I mean, they've raised money. They have investors like pushing them and all that. But the truth is, you are managing your product. You're not managing the people. And the how I put it, the sad thing about that is a lot of people make decisions around your product that you cannot you can't do anything about because you don't own the company or like you don't know the business. So like I said, I think when it comes to like, oh, you're the CEO of the product, do not even assume that like once you get into product, like you have the say, you have the final say over what goes on in that product, and anything you say is the law. In actual fact, right, the company would only give you the ability to manage your product to the best of what they want, not what you think is best. I mean, it's good to push what you think is best because I mean that's what makes you a very good product manager. Being able to convince your stakeholders, convince like the board that okay, this is what I think this is the direction of the product I think, and you have to back that up by like maybe research that you've done. But in reality, like a lot of what you do with your product is also riding on like what management says and all that. So when you eventually get a first job as a product manager, and it seems like every other person is telling you what to do with your product, you just have to figure out what the best approach to navigate that kind of thing, being able to pass your point across, being able to pass your point across to your stakeholders and say, okay, this is what I think is best, and not just go there and be like, you hired me because I'm supposed to be the CEO of this product. You shouldn't be telling me what to do. That would mean your job is at stake because I can't help you there. That's just the fact. So when you're going into a job, do not assume that you're the CEO of the product. I mean, in ideal situations, you're supposed to be, but in reality, you're not. You have a lot of things are riding on, like, the stakeholders that you have. And it's not just maybe where I'm working, or I'm not saying this from a point of whether it's like in corporate settings, in new startups, in companies that have already figured out their processes and all of that. Like, it happens a lot. I don't know of any company that a product manager truly owns their product to the core, but maybe there are, but not the ones that I've seen the people have interacted, the other product managers have interacted with. So yeah. Then someone said something about being a product manager is not your only job. So being a product manager, right, is also not your only job as a person. Like, especially when you're working in, say, new startups, like companies that they don't have a lot of structure going on for them, like companies of like 10 people, a product manager, like most times a product manager, you have to speak to customers in there, meaning that you can almost double as a customer success person. And while you might have a customer success personnel in your company, but you as the product manager must also like you have those skills, like be able to talk to your customer and like be like, okay, this is what it is, and then be able to like allay the affairs on whatever complaints they have. Aside from that, you need to have a saying what marketing does. Like there is trying to, I mean, there are times when you have to go and research on like techniques that you think your engineers should use. So like it's almost like you have everybody's job, including your job. That's something about product management that like a lot of people like don't get to talk about before. Like, I mean, when you read, like you do all those courses on Coursera and all that, it paints this picture of how you're managing effectively or you're managing people and all that. It's not just about that. You do a lot of grunt work. So let me read out another thing someone else said. He said, product managers lead without authority. When you have to get things done without the authority to ask people to do it. So I think it still comes down to what I mentioned about, like, dependencies. Having to depend on other people to get your own job done. So for example, I need to tell someone in, say, customer success or someone in sales to sort out something that is affecting my team. I do not have the authority to tell the person to do that thing. But I have to figure out a way to influence that person to do that. And so it's tricky because you're supposed to be a manager. I mean, the manager part can be tricky. Like, people hear manager and they think you're managing a bunch of people you have the, like, authority to do and undo. But in reality, you don't. Like, you have to influence people. Like, you mostly have to influence people to do things rather than order them around to do things. Let me move on to the next one. One thing that, like, I don't understand about product management right now is a lot of, I think I mentioned this about having stakeholders. Like, you're not the CEO of a product now. The business makes decisions, meaning management of a company, management of the establishment you might be working. Business makes decisions that how I put it, that the PM of the product don't even have a voice in. And one day you just wake up and things have changed. You have to restructure how you're building your product and all of that. So yeah, I think PMs should have, like, should, make decisions, or, like, be carried along in company or business decisions. But in reality, at least maybe Nigerian companies, I don't know about, like, companies abroad. I've not worked in one before, so I wouldn't know. But in a lot of Nigerian companies, as PMs, you really don't have an impact on business decisions, especially in companies that have structure, or that, like, have over 100 or 200 employees. I mean, the management is doing their own thing, the teams are doing their own thing. Everyone is just trying to figure their lives out, but, like, decisions are made on the high level that affects you, but you didn't have a say in it. So you have to figure out how to restructure your product and all that. Like, I mean, as a PM in a smaller company, you still, like, you can influence, like, business decision. Like, maybe it's just you and maybe two developers, one QA person, one designer, the CEO of the company that is also dubbed as the CTO and all that. Like, those conversations are hard, but in like bigger companies, that doesn't happen, which can affect your job as a product, like, you executing well as in your job as a product manager. Like I said, I'm not, like, saying all these things to scare anyone from doing product management. Product management is awesome. I actually think it's awesome. You just need to headache sometimes, but I think it's awesome. So another thing I wanted to mention is, so there's this, I probably should have mentioned this first, is a lot of people come into product management thinking, oh, since I'm not coding, this is the best way to enter tech. Like, I mean, everyone wants to enter tech. I mean, the money in tech is good, right? That's if it gets to us. But yeah, the money in tech is good. I'm not going to lie. Money in tech is good. But in reality, right, I think for product managers, the our market value is still a lot lower than I think it should be, especially in Nigeria. So what I mean by that is, so currently there is a very high demand for experienced developers, like people that know what they're doing. So, like, people are willing to, like, put out money to, like, hire as many developers as they can and all that. But in reality, for PMs, it's not like that. When a company is trying to hire 5 developers, they're probably just only trying to hire one PM, but they can be hiring as much as, like, 20 developers, and they're just looking for 1 or 2 PMs. And there are a lot of people learning product management these days, and the demand is so low, but, like, this we have so much people trying to get into product management, like, so it kind of just diminishes the demand, and so people don't tend to pay high, or they don't want to pay high, because They feel like if this person doesn't accept this offer, they're like 101 product managers that are looking for the same position. So yeah, demand is not high. So I don't think product management is the easiest way. I think product management is awesome, but I don't think it's the easiest way. Like it's a misconception that it's the easiest way to get into tech. You're just bossing people around. You're not doing anything. Like you're not coding. Like it's easy. But in reality, it's not. Like it's a lot of grunt work. It's a lot of in the trenches work. It's just the fact. Like you have to like throughout the day you're busy trying to figure out how to talk to this person and talk to this other person and talk to someone else, trying to unblock like your developer at the same time trying to figure out what is my next move for this product, and at the same time you're answering to management about where is the direction of your product and what are you doing with it and all of that. So yeah, it's a lot of grunt work, and it takes a certain level of like perseverance, and I'm not trying to be a motivational speaker, so it takes a certain level of perseverance, and you have to be ready to like do the hard work to be able to thrive as a product manager. Yeah, the other thing I'm going to mention is no two product management or product managers are the same, or no two product management jobs are the same. So personally, I've had the opportunity to work in about three different sectors. I think I've worked in commerce, I've worked in e-commerce, I've worked in edtech, I've worked in I think I've done social commerce at some point. I've done financial technology at some point. But like I said, no two product managers jobs are the same. You can work in one e-commerce company and move on to another e-commerce company, and the structures are entirely different. Working as a PM in a very small startup and working in a large startup completely different. You have to relearn and unlearn some things to be able to work effectively in that capacity. So if you one thing you should avoid is thinking that, oh, because you really thrived as a PM in one company, like you were amazing and all that. I'm like, you go into the next year, maybe your next job, you move on to the next thing in your life, you go into the next job feeling like, oh yeah, I'm going to kill it here, and you don't put in the work. It takes a lot because you have to understand the product from the scratch. Like you have to understand every nook, because as a product manager, like you own your product. Like I mean, a lot of people they call some people call product managers product owners. In some situations, people like that are different. As a product owner, product manager, you have to know like the nook and crannies like of your product. You to own every experience in it. So, like I said, no two jobs are the same. Not like even if it's in the same like industry or the same, like it's entirely different. What you expect in a structured company, because they have a lot of processes now you have to follow and all that. Then the startup where you have to figure out some things on your own, and like it's a whole different challenge on its own. So one thing that is difficult for product managers right now is that it's very difficult to transition from one role to another. Like it's like okay, I worked at the e-commerce, so I'm trying to move on to the next thing. It takes this, you have to start from the ground again. It's not like, oh, I'm so experienced at it. I mean, the experience at your last place of work would help, like manage things better, but it's a whole different challenge entirely, because the company structure might be different, and so no two jobs are ever going to be the same, or like would follow the same principle. Like the way this company applies agile is different from the way this company thinks about it. So there is that. I think I've been talking quite a bit. So like just like raise your hand, or like jump in if you have any questions. And like I'm going to reiterate again and say, I'm not trying to scare anyone into not doing product management. I think personally, I wouldn't take it like I wouldn't ask for anything else. I've been enjoying my time so far. I mean, there are days when I'm stressed out and I just want to cry. But in reality, I do actually enjoy my job. I enjoy working as a product manager, because one thing people will tell you about product management, I think this one is a good one, is the happiness that comes with seeing maybe your product going live. So imagine working on a particular feature of a product, and the product eventually goes live. The feature, like it's like you've been waiting to have a baby for years, and you eventually like have a baby, or like get like it's really exhilarating. Like it's one of the most amazing feelings you can ever have, like as a product manager, when you see your product go live. Aside from seeing your product go live, you see like traction, you see people using this product. So like I don't think there's anything I can compare it to. Like it's so exciting when you see that, like see that happen. Like the all the, like BS that comes with like you building, the running after someone's leg and hand, like to come and sort out something they're supposed to have done. By the time your product comes out, even if it comes later than deadline or timeline that has been assigned to it, it's just like really, really exciting. Or another part of product management that is really interesting to see is when you as a product manager, like you've gone to do your research, you've come up with an amazing product or a feature or product you're working on, and you put it in writing, like you write it out, like maybe you write a product requirement document for it and all that. And once you do that and you see your designer, like bring your idea to life, like almost exactly how you were thinking of it, it's a really nice feeling. It's a very great feeling, because it's like, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about. And like it validates your like your thought process, and I think it's really amazing. So I'm going to pause here to take questions.
All right, thank you very much for that. It's been it's been wow. It's been wow. And so guys, if you have a question for Favor before she continues, you can just raise your hand or just unmute yourself and speak, so that we can continue. And if there are no, okay, we'll just give 2 minutes for that, just to see if there are questions. And if there are no questions in 2 minutes, then Favor can just continue. Right? Okay. Tomiwa Adebason is raising his hand. Hi, Tomiwa. Let's have you.
Hi, good evening.
Evening.
Yeah, can you guys hear me well?
Yes. In a way.
All right. I just want to ask that this product management, getting certified in it and getting trained in it is kind of more or less like very scarce, and we only get the opportunity to study online. I don't know if there are concrete institutions we can learn from around Nigeria that we can just recommend for us to just learn from.
Okay. For there are a lot of institutions that you could learn from. I mean, I would personally recommend that like you take an online course first, like to like just so that when you start learning from this institution, things don't seem as bland, or like it seems like it's going to be difficult for you to like understand. So I recommend a lot. I think Enoverlab has a program that they run. I think Product Dive also has a program that they run. Um, Personally, I think I went to YouTube at some point. So there are a lot of programs that you can learn from, and I think you can learn online. So like, I don't think you are limited because you learn online. But I think one of the best ways for you to learn, maybe after learning online or going to institution, is getting an internship somewhere to work. And I know someone's next question is probably going to be like, oh, a lot of people are not hiring and all that. One thing that helped me was I took an unpaid internship for a while, for like 3 months, just to I mean, where I did the internship, there was no product manager there, so it seemed like as if I was just grasping at like straws, like understand, but I was able to see what I was learning, like being applied like in real life and all that. So yeah, having internship also help like solidify your like learning process.
All right. Thank you, Favor. A quick one again. Favor, from your experience so far as a product manager, do you think employers usually look for certifications, or some people are just naturally kind of charismatic, and this kind of managing all these things is just kind of natural to them. So, from your experience so far as a product manager, do you think certification is very, very necessary as a product manager?
Um, Personally, I don't. So right now, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by certification. Do you mean like maybe getting a LinkedIn certification, or you mean stuff like getting a PSPM or PSO certification? Can you
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, something like that.
So personally, I don't think so. I'm not really a big fan of like certifications. I think they could help, but I don't think any employer really actively searches for someone's PSPO like certification and all that. Personally, I've not. I don't have one. I mean, like I do courses a lot, like just for me to keep learning. But for like actual PSPM, I think it's the PSPM or PCR or something like that certification. I don't think anybody actively looks into it. I mean, people don't even look into your university certification. So I don't think having a PS something certification matters to them. I think you just need to be able to figure out a way to stand out in a sea of applicants. But I don't think having a certification is going to make you do that.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for that one, Favor. Um, God Day has a question too. So God Day, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Hi.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just have a quick question. So, what do you think will can be an advantage to a product manager, someone that just transitions or transitioning to product management? Do you think the soft skill would be what they should go for first, or how do you advise that? Do you get my
I'm not.
question?
I'm not sure I understand. Can you go again?
Okay, would you or how do you advise someone who just transitioned to product management?
Okay. So I would start with saying a lot of people expect that once they get an online course, they should start making the quick bucks and that's
Mm,
it and all that. But in reality, breaking product management, I mean, so
mm,
this is gradual. It's a very gradual process. Like you just have to trust the process. So what I mean by that, personally, like my own experience was I took online courses. I reached out to a friend. I'm like, please, can I intern at your company? And I just started learning from there. I learned, and okay, one thing about product management is you learn from certificate. I'm sorry, you learn from online courses. You learn from going to like product management schools and all
mm.
that. I mean, that's just enough to get you into the door.
Yeah,
But in reality, it's probably just 20% of what you need to know. I don't even think it's up 20% of what you need to know that you learn from those things. The
yeah,
actual thing you need to learn, you learn on your job. Because if you remember, I mentioned that you learn on the job. If you remember, I
mm,
mentioned that like no two companies or no two like industries the same or how things work. So it's entirely different. So whether like personally now, if I switch my job and I have to go into another one, even if it's the same kind of industry, like I'm gonna have to start learning about that product from the scratch again. It's a how do I put it? It's always a gradual process. You're not just it's not just this. So when it comes to like after transitioning or like learning somewhere or something, my advice is try as much as possible to convince someone that you know or just convince someone to allow you try out their skills as like a product manager in their company. Like it doesn't hurt them, especially now. I get a lot of people complain a lot about unpaid internships and all that, but sometimes it's just what you have to do. Sometimes that's just it. You just have to do that. Tell them like they don't have anything to lose because they're not paying you, and you get to experiment your skills on a company. Do you get? And at the same time, it gives you job experience that you need to like move into somewhere else that is ready to value you.
yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, you've answered my question. So, there's another thing I want to say. Joe, I work as a product manager, so I just wanted to. That came to my head as I asked. So, more like I don't know if it's a contribution. So, but when I after having that product management management skill on Jira and all, Coursera rather. So a friend of mine advised me to do some other researches on technical writing, which has also given some advantage to. That's why I have to ask that question if it's okay to just have a soft skill without having at least a hard skill too. So yeah, because most of the guys coming to product management, they feel it's just the talking part. There are also other things too that would also give advantage, like having a you don't necessarily have to code. So that's why I asked the question.
No, I do agree with you that like soft skills can make you stand out, like being able to use some analytics software or being able to like like I mean that's something as a product manager. Like I said, you have to constantly learn. You have to constantly work on and figure out what new tool is available and everything, or what new analytics software you need to know how to use and all that. So yeah, you constantly have to like fine tune your soft skills, get new soft skills and all of that. So I think that's like a given when it comes to like being a PM.
Thank you so much. You've answered my question. Thank you so much.
All right. Um, thank you for that one. Ogunsoya is also raising her hand. Ogunsoya, hi. You can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Hello, good
evening.
evening.
Hi. So, my question is for health tech of a startup, what essential documents do you need to put in place as a PM
I'm not exactly
for a health
sure
tech?
for the health tech industry.
Yes, for the health tech industry of a small startup.
So are you saying the startup is into health tech?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What essential document do you need to put in place as a PM? So personally, I've not worked in the health tech industry before. So, but I would assume that like depending on the kind of depending on the kind of health tech it is, I mean, people can be into mental health. It could be about trying to get like people HMO stuff like that. Depending on the kind of this thing, it makes a lot of sense to have gone to do a lot of research. Like you need to have done research on that particular thing they are working on. What I mean by that is, so say someone is into like they're working on mental health, that
Mm-hmm.
their product is about mental health. You have to make sure that your industry, you can call yourself some sort of industry expert because you've gone to read as much as you can on that particular industry. And if it's possible to like, maybe get what they call it now, maybe you've done maybe LinkedIn courses, Coursera courses on some of those things, and you specifically like target like the health sector, right? I think it
Yeah.
would be a plus for you when you're applying to an health tech startup.
Okay, well, I'm already in the health tech startup.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I'm asking that what documents would you need that is specific to that niche of the industry?
Okay. I still don't. I would say I still don't understand the question. I don't think you need a specific document per se. I just think you need to have industry knowledge, basically. So,
Okay.
for a PM, the way I understand, like the way PMs work, you are supposed to be the one coming up with some of these documents, depending on what you're doing for the company. So you could be working at their back office, you could be working on like a particular product within the health tech startup, right? For that particular product, you are the one as the product manager that comes up with, oh, I'm writing the documentation for this particular product, or
Okay.
what you're going to build next. So it's not like
Okay.
there are some existing documents for a product manager there or something.
Okay.
Except
Okay.
maybe someone has worked on it before and made it public or stuff. So the documents come, like you write those documents from the outcome of your research.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. There's a question on the chat box. I don't know if Chamiwa actually asked this question when he asked how do you disburse funds to your team when building a product. He also asked, do a product manager give accumulated expense then send to the stakeholders or request for funds as you delegate duties to your team of developers and designers?
Okay, this is a loaded question. So I don't know if Famiwa was there when I was mentioning that when someone tells you that you're the CEO of your product, please put that in the bush. It's not true. Because at the end of the day, I as a product manager, I don't think I've ever handled money to give to my developers or something, because that's, to be honest, like in the ideal situation when you learn about it, like, oh, you're the one that'll come up with, like, cost analysis and all that and all that. Like in some situations, yeah, you do that, but you're not the one disbursing the funds to anyone or any person. Um, I would say the only instance in which I've probably handled money personally is probably like as an incentive to maybe a customer that I wanted to talk to, like where I was working before. Like, okay, maybe I want to speak to a trader, I want to speak to someone, right? I mean, like, I can request for like maybe money at that time, like to act as an incentive to the person, the customer that the customer like or the user that I want to talk to. But in reality, we don't disburse, we don't actually disburse funds. So in situations, I would say one situation in which you might disburse funds is if you work in a very tiny startup, like in a very tiny startup, and maybe you're like five, and you are asked to like do that and all that. And I'm guessing it's a conversation that probably happens between you and the CEO of the company that, oh, this is what our budget is and all that. But in reality, no, we don't actually do the disbursing of funds.
All right.
I don't know if I answered your question.
I don't think is here. All right, there's another. While we wait for Tomiwa to ask if his questions are answered, another question is here from Ibo Koichi Gozie. It said, how important is knowledge of data analysis and software development skill? So, yeah, Favor, let's know how
Okay, so I like this question. So data analysis, knowledge of data analysis, right? Like I said, one of the best things you probably do, like you probably learn 20% online, but most of the other things you learn on the job. For example, data analysis, right? I mean, I kind of studied engineering in school, so I had a little bit of knowledge of data analysis. But stuff like using mixed panel and using the Firebase, these are things that like I realized I needed to use, and then I went like go learn. I literally learned on the job. So something was a skill I developed on the job and all that. Then for software development skill, so I think if you have data analysis skills, I think it's perfect for a product manager. But I also think that like it's not a blocker for you to be able to like perform your role. I think it's, or like you can learn, like I think you would need to be able to do data analysis, because data analysis allows you to like put the outcome of your research into words and be able to analyze your data. But I don't think it's a blocker or a deal breaker, like when you're starting out. Not when you're like, as an experienced product manager, you definitely have to like be a very good data analyst, but not data analyst in writing Python scripts and all that. But just being able to analyze data and like interpret the data that you've collected and being able to like use tools to like get those data. Then for software development skills, I mean, coding, knowing how to code or being able to understand like code. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but it's also not a deal breaker. So personally, I mean, I kind of did a little bit of coding like back in the day, but I didn't like it, so I'm not like an avid coder or anything. But with time, like maybe by the time you like spend your first 6 months or say 1 year in a job, you kind of just understand the basic principle of how a code works, or like how you expect something to work. So what I mean by that is, so initially when personally I started out, when my manager, then the person I was working with at the time, he would be talking to like the developers, and he would talking like oh that we will need an endpoint for this, or like what are those APIs, are they ready and all that. And I'm like, what is this man saying? I don't understand what he's saying. That like, should they not kick me out of this job and that and all that. But today, I didn't actively go and search for like new API, I mean APIs or anything. But because I like on the job, like by having conversation with developers, allowing them to carry along in conversations and all that, you begin to pick up bits and pieces, and before you know, you understand the basic concepts behind, how codes interact or how they work. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I did.
I hope so too. So, um, Ejiowo, Ijeoma, please, I hope I got your name right though. This one that people's name. You're raising
Yes,
your hand. I don't know if you still want to ask your question before um Favor goes on.
yes, I want to. Okay,
All right.
I joined in late. Good evening, everybody. But I wanted to ask. I'm having this conversation. Is do PMs do the same work as HR in a tech organization? Then I also
As
wanted to
HR
ask,
was,
do PMs do the same job like HR? Because HR they basically recruit people for a particular project. So I'm asking, are they doing almost the same work, or I don't know? Yeah, are they aligned? Are they interconnected? In any way?
okay.
Then the second question I want to ask, as a PM, do you necessarily have to have like a knowledge of everything? Like if, for example, the project or the company you're working for needs a cloud engineer, needs a data analysis, or needs people. Do you actually need to have an idea of each and every, like a little bit, not everything, obviously, a little bit of everything that they need to do to achieve that project? That's what I'm trying to say. So do we actually need like a a knowledge on each software or each stuff that you need? I don't know if you get my
Yeah, okay.
question.
Yeah, I do get the question. So let's start with the HR question. So, interestingly enough, I work at an HR software company. So
Okay.
we build HR software, basically seamless HR. And even my HR company that builds HR software as an HR, like we have HR in the company that like deal with recruitment and employee like management and engagement. A PM is not an HR person. Those are two different jobs entirely. But recall that I don't know if you were here when I mentioned that at the end of the day, before you know it, you're doing a little bit of everything. So what I mean by being able to recruit, in reality, right, you're not the one recruiting. You shouldn't be the one recruiting whoever is working on your team, but you should also know that like, oh, I want to work on this particular project or this particular feature or this product I'm working on. I think I would need additional two developers and I would need a QA to test. And okay, now that QA is testing, like, oh, along the like, oh, I think because I understand this data, but I need to be able to get more from this data. So we might actually need a data analyst, stuff like that. So like, sometimes I would say when it comes to like, project based, like a project based company, you should have a very good sense of what you think your product will need, because technically from the beginning you should have a general idea of what direction you want to take that product. I mean, it may change, like if you're working like in an agile company, like it might change, like the scope might change a bit later, it might, but in reality you should have a general idea of who or what you need for your team to make it like to be able to successfully build a product that you're working on. But for the question of HR or no HR and all that, I don't think a product manager is able to function as an HR. They don't do the hiring. I mean, something can be on my, something on my something can happen on my team like, okay, I don't like this. I think I want more a new developer. Then I can send that message down to HR. I'm like, okay, or send it to my line manager and be like, I think I need
Sorry.
additional to a number of developers, right? I need a QA person because I can't do all this testing by myself to come on board on the team, and then they can start out putting out their hand, trying to figure out the recruiting aspect of it. You get a product manager can decide that like maybe you don't want to wait, or then recommend that, or like I think I know someone who might be a good fit for this role, but your role is not
Hi,
to be an
Favor.
HR. But like I said, being a product manager is a very particular, is a peculiar job. You might find yourself having to like do the exact like HR job, maybe in a company where you're just like five, you don't have a actual HR person, or like at the end of those times, like you might end up being a customer success person too at the same time. So like I said, it's very peculiar to like where you're working at the time. But in an ideal situation, a PM is not an HR manager.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Your voice is still so far. Like,
I don't know if I addressed your question. I hope I did.
can you hear me? Favor. Can Favor hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello. Did I
Yeah.
address your question? I don't know. I can't hear anyone again. I
Um,
hope you guys can still hear me.
we can hear you, but it's
Well,
far. Can hear you clearly, but your audio is far in a way. But we can actually hear you. I don't know if you can hear us.
Oh, I could not hear you for a second. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess it's the. I think the audio on your side is far or something.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. I don't know if I answered that question. I hope I did.
Yes,
Yes,
you.
you did.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
All right, you can just move on. It's almost 7, so just let us in on whatever it is that is left that you have for us in the next few minutes. Thank you.
All right. I guess I would just round up by saying I think I've said this like 2 or 3 times already on like for the duration of the call. I'm not trying to scare anyone into not like being a PM because I think it's awesome. I really do think it's awesome. Like I've had an amazing time with it. But I would just drop this um thing about not being a CEO of a product. Um the thing about you being the CEO of a product, it's very, very interesting and it can basically mislead you, especially when you're starting out thinking that, oh, you own every bit of decision that comes, like bit of a decision that comes with the product you're working on, the feature you're working on. So in reality, a PM is a servant leader. You're basically a servant with a leader. Imagine being the head of like, maybe a company has a lot of maids and you're now the household, like the how they call it, like the manager of the maids, but you're a maid yourself, that kind of thing. So a PM is servant leader, and one of the things you have to do is or to master is being able to lead by influencing people, but not just by ordering them to do stuff. Because in reality, you can't order anybody to do anything. Like you don't have that power, but you're supposed to figure out like how to influence their decision by being a, like one of the good PMs there is. So a friend of mine usually says that one of the best ways for you to function as a PM is being able to best way to function as PM is being able to build a team that trusts. And that means working on your team and building trust within your team to be able to execute. Like, okay, you said, give me, like, if someone mentioned, if a developer says that it's going to take 3 days to build this thing, you as a PM, like, figure out how to build a trust, it's a trust within the team such a way that if this person gives 3 days, I'm trusting that I'm giving 3 days. And I'm not trying to push that, oh, why not do it in one day? Like you're just gonna have to figure out how to like build that bond and trust within your team to be able to execute because at the end of the day, your job is dependent on every other person succeeding. Let me give a scenario around that. Recently I had to deal with I gave a timeline to a client and I was so nervous because I could not like I wasn't the one building that stuff for the client and I had to depend on my team to build that. and make sure that they deliver on time. I remember having to stay up till like 11 p.m. that night to be able to like make sure the client got what they wanted. It means that like I had to depend on my team. But if we had not delivered, either way, you take the blame as the PM. Nobody wants to know whether it's your developer that didn't deliver on time or didn't build something on time. So, like I said, your job is dependent on so many people: sales, customer success, your developers, your QA person, your designer. For you, like what you yourself you're doing. Like I mean, you do your own job. Like you provide product documents, you like interact with customers. You like, but at the same time, what you are doing personally consists like 20% of your job. The responsibility is just 20% of your job, like what you manage yourself. But what other people do is like you take on 80% responsibility for what they do or do not do. So as a PM, you have to figure out how to strike a balance in your team and being able to build trust because your success basically depends, your success as a product manager depends on the team you're working with, depends on the people that like that you have dependencies on. So yeah, as a product manager, I would say going into the product management field, I would say go into it like thinking that okay, I need to figure out a way to build the best team there is so that I myself will be successful. I think I'm going to stop it around up here. Like I said, I can still take questions if there are any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very, 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 very much, Favor. It's been an insightful session. I liked that you said, I like what you said last, like just now, that if you're looking to go into product management, look to go into product management with the mind of building something that is going to be successful. So in other words, like building a unicorn, something that has to be different, right? So thank you very much for this session. Personally, I learned from every single thing that you said. The aspects that also intrigued me was when you said you should be able to build trust with your team as a product manager. And when you mentioned that in reality, as a PM, the CEO thing, the CEO of a product thing is more like a, would I say, a fallacy in a way, right? That's in reality you are a servant leader, and that's quite true. I agree with that as well. Thank you very much for this session. It's been insightful since you started. I don't know if there are any other questions before we say good night. If there are any other questions, if you have questions for Favor, you can just raise your hand or type your question in the chat box and we would check your question. So we'll be waiting for the next 1 minute. If you have a question, let us have your questions. So let's just look at it in the next 1 minute. And if there are no questions, we'll call it a night. Thank you very much, Favor, once again. It's been amazing. It's been I don't know, it's just been like, this is one of the best sessions I have had so far, one of the best. So yeah, are there any other questions? If you have questions, please let us know so that we can. All right, all right. Questions. All right, I don't think there's any question for now. All right, in the absence of no question, okay. Someone is saying, all right, Chuku Mauputa says, I'd like to ask Miss Favor if she can help me get an internship position. Well, I do not know if Miss Favor can help you get an internship position. All all right. I don't know if Favor would like to give an answer to that or she'll just pass on that. Favor? All right. All right. In the absence of no other question, thank you very much for this session, Favor. Thank you to everyone that joined. It's been, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. Adebayo Idowu, Kemi Aramide, Benedicta, Chukuma Oputa, Daniel, Elizabeth Folorunshaw, Esther Upon, um, Gladys, God Day Peter, Tiza, Ibokoye, Chigazie, everybody. Matthew Asbelo, thank you for joining. Hanayo, hi, good evening. Thank you for joining um Enoverlab AMA session. Um Favor has told us so many untold truths, and we're happy and we're glad that she shared these things with us and we have actually learned. Thank you all very much for joining this call today. To have a wonderful weekend ahead of you. All right, Miss Favor is saying that for books, she would recommend Inspired by Matty Kagan. So either Kagan or Kagan. So yeah, I would like to round up by saying that um if you're looking to take product management courses, Enoverlab is open. We take we take the basic. We have different. I mean, yeah, we have two classes, majorly two classes: the basic class and the advanced class. So you can always reach out on all our social media and those at Innovalab for any question that you may want to ask. For those asking for certifications or courses online that they can take for product management or in order to become a product manager. So Favor's social media handle. All right, we'll get that and drop it on the community group chat. Oh, I deactivated Favor's mic. I'm so sorry for that. I think it was from sorry, let me just try and fix it. Oh wow, how did I do this? Okay, it's not from my and all right, Favor, you can unmute. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
The lady that said she's looking for internship, I actually admire her shooting her shot. I mean, that's interesting.
right.
It's a
Um,
guy actually.
okay, you know what? For her,
Yeah.
you can find me on LinkedIn, like same name, Favour Olusoji, both on LinkedIn and on Twitter. You can find me the same name. Just look for her, Favour Olusoji. I think you'll find me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, the lady that looks for internship. I mean, I don't have any internship position anywhere open now, but you can like forward your like resume to me on LinkedIn, and if I find something, I could like push it across.
All right. Thank you very much for that one too, Favor. It's been a night. Thank you all for joining once again. See you next time. We should be having another EMA session next week as well, where we'll be discussing about another interesting topic, of course. So to have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful new week. Bye bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys. Enjoy your
Bye.
weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, bye
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you, Fable.